Good day, JCI members across the world. Welcome to the very first episode of JCI Sustainability Online Interview Series, an initiative of the 2026 JCI Sustainability Commission, which is headed by the super dynamic chairperson, Anirudh Sisla. My name is Yudhish Rohee, and I serve as the 2026 Deputy Chairperson of the JCI Sustainability Commission, proudly representing JCI Mauritius. Throughout 2026, we'll be hosting one expert conversation every month, engaging leaders from across industries who are shaping the future of sustainability, ESG, climate change, and responsible leadership. The purpose of this series is to make sustainability understandable, practical, and actionable for JCI members across more than 100 countries. Whether you're leading a local organization, running a business, or driving a community project, these conversations are designed to help you integrate sustainability into meaningful impact. We are truly excited to begin this journey with you today. So it is an honor to welcome our first guest, Belinda, who is the founder and the CEO of SustainableDNA, a sustainability and climate advisory and technology firm based in South Africa. She is a certified Chief Sustainability Officer through MIT, a certified climate board advisor, and a chartered accountant with over 25 years of experience in sustainability, corporate strategy, and finance. Belinda has led sustainability and climate strategy initiatives for major financial institutions, including ABSA, RMB, FMB, and also worked with South African Presidential Climate Commission on renewable energy frameworks. Expertise uniquely bridges finances, governance, and sustainability, helping organizations translate climate ambitions into measurable action. So Belinda, we are delighted to have you with us today, and welcome to the 2026 JCI Sustainability Online Interview Series.
Thank you so much, Yudhish. It's a real pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. So to start with, could you walk us through your personal journey into sustainability advocacy? What key experiences, moments, or turning points inspired you to commit yourself to this field?
Thank you. That's a great question. So my journey into sustainability was not linear. It evolved over time. I started my career, as you mentioned, as a chartered accountant. And I spent many years in corporate finance and strategy, both working in London and in Johannesburg, South Africa. I worked on major restructurings, financial models, and capital strategies, very traditional finance roles. The first turning point was health and people. I founded Well Advisors to improve employee well-being because performance collapses if people aren't thriving. That opened my eyes to the S, or the social side of ESG. The second really was systems thinking. I co-founded a project called Sustainable South Africa with support from the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants. And this showed me how powerful cross-sector collaboration and data are for advancing the Sustainable Development Goals at scale. And then the third really was climate risk that I've seen becoming financial risk. And this I really saw through my MIT training and the board certification that I acquired. Then also working with leading African banks and, like you mentioned, the Presidential Climate Commission, I saw that climate regulation and capital allocation are converging fast. So I started SustainableDNA almost 4 years ago. It's a purpose-built advisory and software business that integrates strategy, governance, and decarbonization into core performance so that organizations can win in a low carbon and inclusive economy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing this great journey. And as we go to the next question is, JCI is present in more than 100 countries, and this interview will be, let's say, broadcasted in over 100 countries. So how would you define ESG and sustainability in simple, accessible terms? And what are the key differences between the two?
That's an amazing footprint, and it really is an honor to be with you today. First of all, I define ESG simply as a business and investment approach that evaluates how companies perform on the dimensions of E for environment, S for social, and G for governance. Sustainability then is more about creating value and well-being over time while respecting environmental and social limits. So it guides how we live, operate, and grow in a world of limited resources and growing risks. There are three key principles that bring sustainability to life. The first is that we are living in limits, within limits. So avoiding harm to our planetary boundaries and the systems that we rely on. The second is that we need to build resilience. And that means becoming ready for shocks and disruptions and changes that happen as a matter of using up our resources and things such as climate change. And the third is being able to regenerate resources. So that's about looking at ways that we can give back more than we take from nature. So sustainability really for me, and the definition that's out there, is that it's a journey and it's not a destination. It's a way of thinking and acting that helps align decisions, strategies, and behaviors with long-term well-being. In business, it means operating in a way that preserves and restores and regenerates natural resources, supports economies, and ensures long-term profitability and resilience. So in summary, sustainability is what we are trying to achieve over the long term, and ESG is how we measure and manage progress on the environmental, social, and governance dimensions.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for this clarification. I think it should be clear now, the differences between sustainability and ESG. And now moving forward, we know that many young people still associate sustainability mainly with going green. So based on experience, what are some of the most common misconceptions about ESG or sustainability today, and how can organizations avoid them?
That's a fantastic question, and I often get asked it. So really, it's about only going green. And the reality is that sustainability is also about creating jobs. It's about our health and well-being. It's about equity, ethics, and good governance. So it's really about the choices that we make and that make our communities and our world safer, and it makes our businesses investable and resilient in the long run. Another misconception that I get is that sustainability or ESG is only about reporting, and it's about the reports that you generate at the end of the day. Well, reporting without strategy is mere theatre. Real impact comes from integrated strategy, capital allocation, and real incentives built into a business. So that, starts from the top and it's integrated into the entire business the whole way through. So it's not only just integrated into reporting at the end of the day. A third one that I often hear is that sustainability is really expensive. In practice, waste, energy, and when we improve our resource use and efficiency, it improves our margins. And when we work waste out of our processes, this also improves our margins. So when we look at sustainability and re-engineering our business processes to make them more sustainable, it actually has been found and truly does lead to improved profitability over the long run. Another misconception I've heard is that it's only for big corporates. Now, here is where SMEs and startups and community projects play such a vital role, because in fact, they're able to move faster and can capture new markets first. So they are really fundamental to the success of sustainability. And it is affordable for them because they don't have these major processes that they have to re-engineer. They can, find quick wins and implement them fast and have a real big impact on our economies. The last one I'd like to mention is that sustainability, this is a bit crazy, but sustainability slows innovation. And actually the very opposite is true, is that sustainability sparks creativity, because we have to start looking at, ways to design circularity into products. ways to become more efficient and effective and resilient in the long run. So really in 2026, for me, sustainability is no longer just, as it was in a lot in the past in world debate. It is fundamental to a business and it's a strategic necessity.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all the misconceptions that we often hear. And now we know the answers. So moving on and considering that the next segment, which is into the global and the youth leadership perspective. So considering the increasing climate risk and resources pressure we're witnessing globally, why has sustainability become such a critical pillar for businesses, entrepreneurship, and community leadership in 2026? And again, just to add on this, are there any new areas within sustainability that young leaders are not paying enough attention to today, yet should we prioritize?
I think this is a great question. And I feel that one of the key areas that we really need to focus on is risk. And, risk has now matured into all of our economics. We're seeing it in climate, nature loss, social instability. And all of these factors are now starting to be priced into our business supply chains, insurance, funding, and they're part of market access now. So leaders and investors, now we see more and more that they're using climate and ESG data in their credit and valuation decisions. I think a good place for young entrepreneurs and young businesses also to pay attention to is regulation, because there's a lot of new regulation coming in that supports sustainability. And this is really good to see, and it's really fundamental. So global baselines like the IFRS S1 and S2, and emerging jurisdiction rules make climate and sustainability disclosure standards business practice. And this is becoming part of business as usual. The opportunity is really, really massive. So when we look at getting carbon out of our operations, which, is decarbonization, building in resilience, and looking at inclusion, these are multi-million dollar or trillion-dollar markets. Looking at things like energy efficiency, green buildings, regenerative agriculture, circularity, digitalization, and nature-based solutions. So I think nature-based solutions is one of those areas that is also being highlighted now. People weren't so aware of it in the past, but we're looking at our resources and how to regenerate them and maintain them going forward. This is where nature-based solutions begin to play a really big role. And then, of course, the youth dividend. So here we sit with young people today, and it's our next generation that is the most important. And our next generation is going to see the success of our sustainability efforts through. And, it's both our customers and our workforces. So purpose-driven brands that are taking sustainability into account, attract talent, and they are shown to grow faster. In Africa, we've got issues around being resilient to climate change. We've got water scarcity that we need to deal with, grid stability on our electricity supply, and inclusive growth. And these become competitive advantages for us if we invest into them early. So entrepreneurs who solve local resource constraints can then export these fantastic solutions globally. So there's huge amounts of opportunity for entrepreneurs here. So I'd say start looking at where the biggest risks are. And then another area for me that's come up that is pretty key is looking at nature-based solutions and how you could help to solve for those.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this about even the nature-based solution. I think it's not a new concept, but still not many people are looking towards it. And moving on to the next section, which is on youth empowerment and the JCI Plan of Action. So the 2026 JCI Plan of Action emphasizes sustainability first as one of its action pillars. The question is, how can JCI members use this focus to advance sustainability awareness and create meaningful impact in their countries and communities, taking into consideration that JCI is present worldwide in more than 100 countries, and we have more than 5,000 communities?
Amazing. Well, I mean, already you've got such a huge opportunity for partnerships, and partnerships drive everything, and partnerships are fundamental to the success of any project in the sustainability field. So, JCI has got that unique advantage in that it's got these great local networks and this global reach. Your members can embed sustainability into every project. It doesn't need to be a separate initiative, but it can be part of decision making for every project. So, for example, in projects that your members choose to undertake, they can include, criteria evaluation on the environment, social, and governance dimensions as well. And then align projects with the Sustainable Development Goals, so the SDGs. And these need to be achieved by 2030. And it's really important that we all play a part towards achieving these. So, looking at how do our projects contribute towards the Sustainable Development Goals. And then, the partnerships. So through the network, build partnerships with themselves, with other businesses that enables greater impact and report back on it. So you've got that transparency and also accountability to communities that you are impacting on. Sustainability first for me really means asking what are the long-term environmental, social, and governance implications of this decision. And that one question for me changes everything. Yeah, thanks. And it's a great question. And you've got such a great network. And for me, I just feel that you can have such a vast impact. And it's really impressive to see that you have sustainability first as one of your key pillars.
Thank you. Thank you for this, Belinda. And then the next question in this section is that from your perspective and experience, what are the three essential leadership qualities or technical skills that young people should develop today to effectively contribute to sustainability, whether in their careers, businesses, or community projects?
The first one really is about systems thinking and having curiosity. So everything is interlinked. And when we start to think beyond the silo of this is what I do, this is my business, and you think about how your business is part of a greater organization, or your organization is part of a greater economy, which is part of a greater world, that is systems thinking. And you start thinking about the impacts that your business is having externally on people and on communities, and then internally how people, communities, and the environment is also impacting on your business. So systems thinking and having that curiosity is really important. Having integrity and courage to stand up and say, maybe we're greenwashing here. Maybe what we're saying isn't really the truth, and we aren't following through on some of the sustainability actions we said we'd take. So I think having that integrity and courage is fundamental. Integrity is fundamental to the success of sustainability because it's a cornerstone of good governance. And without good governance, our organizations simply can't succeed. We've discussed this just previously in the question before about partnerships. Partnerships are absolutely fundamental. So having that partnership mindset to say, let me see who I can partner with, how I can build my network out around this project, who I can get involved, and look at projects with a long-term mindset. And then, words are important, but we need to take action at the end of the day. So have an execution discipline. And I just want to wrap up by saying that really have the courage to challenge outdated models and execute on your sustainability initiatives. And then let me move on to the technical skills. So when it comes to technical skills, there's a lot of great literature out there. There's a lot of sustainability frameworks and standards. So I think look at the International Financial Reporting Standards, S1 and S2, the European Sustainability Reporting Standards. The GHG protocol has got scope 1, 2, and 3 accounting standards for carbon accounting. Get to understand what sustainability data is, and if you need to report on it and how you need to report on it. And then, build some financial acumen and financial skills, because we need to embed sustainability into a core part of our profits. I'd like to wrap up, but not adding too much in. But I think when you're looking at understand what a circular economy is and how to design your products with life cycle assessments, taking life cycle assessments into consideration, which consider the product from cradle to grave, so that you don't waste resources and you can reuse and refurbish and regenerate resources. So those really, for me, are some of the key skills that you would need.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for emphasizing on the credit grade and the life cycle assessment and all. And
Yeah.
the next question is mostly about the historic role of NGOs. So historically, NGOs have played a role in shaping social change. And JCI's decades-long commitment to community development and responsible leadership. So why today it is important for NGOs to advocate for sustainability, and it has become such an important responsibility as well.
It really is. NGOs play an absolutely fundamental role. And NGOs, many, many years ago, like you said, they started and they have historically shaped the key changes and positive changes we've seen in our social structures. And today, sustainability advocacy is absolutely critical because, as we know, our governments move very slowly and our markets move where incentives point. So NGOs can help with advocacy. They can help to champion sustainability efforts and actually help to get governments put incentives in the right places. And, they've got a huge influence over that. And organizations like the Junior Chamber International, JCI, play a bridging role, connecting grassroots action with policy and business influence. So NGOs ensure sustainability remains people-centered, and it's not just a compliance-driven exercise. So sustainability isn't only about compliance, and that's where NGOs really play a fundamental part, is taking everyone's opinions and everyone's energy and efforts on board and moving people towards operating sustainable manners and sustainable ways. And yeah, I think I can't say more about how much I respect and admire the work of NGOs. And I really think that NGOs are one of the biggest drivers of change in our world and change for the positive. That's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Belinda. And now we are at our final section. So if you could share one message with young people around the world who aspire to create a meaningful and lasting impact through sustainability, what would it be?
Do not underestimate your influence. Sustainability is not a separate career, it's a lens through which every single career should operate. Whether you're an entrepreneur, an accountant, an engineer, a policymaker, or a community organizer, you have got leverage. The future isn't something that we inherit, it is something that we design. Finally, what I'd like to say to wrap up is that each one of us can make a huge and significant difference. And, don't let anything get you down or set you back when you're working on sustainability. We all face hurdles in the different work that we do. But be determined, be passionate about what you do, and you'll be amazed to see at the difference that you can make. And yeah, just decide what you want to do and work towards that and go for it. And I really wish you every success. And thank you so much for having me as a guest today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Belinda. Thank you once again for sharing your time, expertise, and valuable insight with the JCI global community. Your perspective has truly helped us to understand sustainability and ESG, and not just as a concept, but also responsible leadership that shape our decisions, our organizations, and our communities. So we are deeply appreciate your contribution to this episode of JCI Sustainability Online Interview Series. To our JCI members watching across the world, sustainability is not a distant global agenda. It begins with awareness, informed decisions, and conscious actions at the local level. As you reflect on today's conversation, I encourage you to ask, how can we integrate sustainability into our next project? How can we lead more responsibly in our organizations and businesses? How can we create impact in both meaningful and measurable? And let this episode be the beginning of deeper conversation within your local organization. If you found this session valuable, please share it with your members and continue engaging with us throughout 2026 as we bring you more expert conversation each month. On behalf of the JCI Sustainability Commission, thank you for joining us today. I am Yudhish Rohee from JCI Mergers. Until our next episode, let us lead, connect, and evolve for a sustainable future.